Hello everyone and welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. Today we're looking at Ziatora the Incinerator. I'm really excited because we are building this deck with Tyranids and Hydras. This is going to scale really well in the late game, and early game we won't be useless. Additionally, 1/1 counters are stupid easy to abuse and double. Let me back up that last statement with our first category, double up. We have Apocalypse Hydra. As long as we cast this guy greater than 5, he's going to go ahead and double the amount of 1/1 counters we have on him. Colonial Hydra. This guy can be pretty crazy in the deck, because as soon as he attacks, we're going to double all of our 1/1 counters across the board. Primordial Hydra gets out of hand really fast. Not only is he going to double his counters every turn, but if his counters are above 10 or more, he's going to go ahead and have trample. Voracious Hydra. Not only can we use this guy for removal in a pinch, but we'll have the option to double up on his counters whenever he enters the battlefield. Death's Presence. Now I know this doesn't double, but essentially whenever we lose one of our creatures, we're going to go ahead and put that amount of counters equal to their power onto another creature. So over the course of a game, this is going to be pretty insane. The Ozolith. This one does exactly the same thing, well, almost exactly the same thing, and it's way cheaper. Unbound Flourishing. This one just straight up doubles the value of X. Vorinclex Monstrous Raider. Not only does this hose our opponents a little bit, but it's also going to go ahead and double our counters. Branching Evolution. Again, we're just doubling up on those 1/1 counters. Vastwood Hydra. Whenever this guy dies, we're going to be able to distribute his power amongst all of our creatures. Notably, this is going to be really good when we sacrifice him to our commander, and then we're just going to throw it on another Hydra that we're going to sacrifice next turn for even more damage. Clamavus. This guy literally just says, hey, for each 1/1 counter on a creature, they're going to get +1/+1, so that's pretty broken. And finally, we're throwing the budget out the window and throwing in Doubling Season, because 1, the art's a flavor win, and 2, this is really good in the deck. Because not only does it double up on your counters, but whenever your commander creates those 3 treasure tokens, you're going to create 6 treasure tokens instead. Plus, I don't want to spoil too much of the deck tech, but we are running treasures. Alright guys, for our next category, let's look at the rest of our X-cost creatures in the deck. We have Aberrant. I love the Ravenous ability that comes with Tyranids, plus this guy has Trample and he'll be able to get rid of some of those artifacts and enchantments. Exocrine. This guy can enter the battlefield and do a ton of damage and go ahead and wipe the board. Notably, don't kill yourself, but hey, there's that Ravenous ability again. Marlock. This guy's just going to enter the battlefield and take out a creature. Steelbane Hydra. This guy's really good removal because for each 1/1 counter on him, we're going to be able to take out an artifact or enchantment. Tarvagon. This guy gets out of hand very quickly. Let him deal too much damage and you'll be left with an unstoppable board. Tyrant Guard. This guy's super underrated. We can sacrifice him at any time to give our creatures with counters hexproof and indestructible. Genesis Hydra. This guy's going to allow us to search for our key pieces. As long as we cast this guy for 5, we're going to be happy. Termagant Swarm. This is really good because whenever we sacrifice him to our commander, it's not going to get rid of our board state. We're just going to get a lot of tokens to go ahead and protect us. Hormagaunt Horde. I really like this card in the deck because whenever land enters the battlefield, we're going to be able to bring it back to our hand so we can cast it again for notably card advantage because Ravenous, and we're just going to be able to use it as fodder for our commander. Really underrated. Rin's Run Hydra. This one's going to be really useful because we can go ahead and reinforce one of our creatures already on the battlefield in case we need an extra oomph to take out one of our opponents. Lastly, we have Shivan Devastator. I'll admit this is a little bit of a guilty include, but come on. It's a flying haste dragon Hydra. This can hit out of nowhere and catch people off guard, honestly. Alright, let's look at some of the core pieces of the deck. We have Dragon Broodmother. No, it's not a Hydra or a Tyranid, but this can create a massive board state and massive creatures. Because remember, we are doubling 1/1 counters. So in reality, all you have to do is let her last a turn, go ahead and sacrifice 3 dragons to the 1 on your upkeep, and boom, you're left with a 13/13. Old One-Eye. Not only does this guy add a lot of power to the board, but he's going to give all of our creatures trample, which is really useful. Eternal Witness, just grab creatures back from our graveyard. Chainer Nightmare Adept, this card's going to be really useful because as long as we discard a card, we're going to be able to cast our Hydras and Tyranids from our graveyard, and they'll enter the battlefield with haste. Which is really good because there's not very many Reanimator cards that pair well with Hydras. Veto, Thorn of Duskrose. Hear me out on this one, guys. Okay, let's say we have a 10-10 Hydra or Tyranid. It doesn't matter. And we have an open opponent. Okay, you're going to get the damage off of the attack. So boom, they take 10 damage. Well, then you're going to gain 10 life, and they're going to take another 10 damage. Then you're going to go ahead and sacrifice that creature to your commander, and it's going to deal another 10 damage to them. But guess what? Your commander has lifelink, so you're going to gain another 10 life. Just from having a 10-10, they're going to take 40 life from having this guy out on the battlefield if you activate his ability. That's pretty insane. In all honesty, I could see you taking out 2 opponents in 1 turn with this guy. Sword of Light and Shadow, that's just going to allow us to bring our Hydras and Tyranids back to our hand so we can recast them. Because again, it's not really that good to reanimate a 0/0 creature, right? Strionic Resonator. Doubling up on our commander's ability is going to be pretty crazy because not only are we going to get double the damage, but we're going to get double the treasure tokens. So I'm all about that. Alright guys, you've seen massive creatures, so you're probably wondering what does the ramp package look like. So here we are, we have Oracle of Moldiah. I love this guy because not only is he going to allow you to always draw gas, but it almost feels like card advantage because you're casting land or playing lands from the top of your library. Secure a Tri-Builder, this guy's just all reliable, play him turn 2, get yourself a land. Traverse the Outlands, this has an incredibly high ceiling in the deck, because in all honesty, we could be searching up 10 basics to throw onto the battlefield. Nature's Lure, again, that 2 mana ramp, really important. 3 visits, really good because it says forest, but there's a lot of cards that are forest and mountains or forest and swamps, so it's really good color fixing while being ramp. Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. This card's insane in the deck because not only can it add a ton of mana to your mana pool, but it's also card draw. Old Gnawbone, there's those treasure tokens I was talking about. Go ahead and deal damage with those Hydras just to create a ton of treasure tokens and cast bigger, massiver Hydras next turn. I don't know if massiver is a word, but we're going to make it a word. Clouth, Unrivaled Ancient. Again, this is one of those cards that just has no ceiling in the deck. If you're playing big, massive creatures, you're going to be happy with this guy on the battlefield. Kodama of the West Tree. Really good in Hydra and Tyranid decks because 1, we need trample, and 2, we're going to ramp a lot off this guy. Farseek, again, one of those really good early game plays that just fix your mana and ramps you. Rampant Growth, this one won't fix your mana, but it will ramp you. Soul Ring, it's a classic, it's in here, and the Reaver Cleaver. Suit this up to your biggest Hydra and go ahead and make a bigger Hydra next turn off of the treasure tokens you will create. Sword of Feast and Famine, I know it's technically not ramp, but honestly it feels like having an extra turn in this deck because you're just going to untap all your lands and be able to cast another big Hydra. Alright guys, let's take a look at that card advantage, and I bet you already know, most of it's going to depend on the power of our creatures. We have Greater Good. Go ahead and sacrifice a massive creature to draw a lot of cards. We aren't even going to care that we have to discard 3. Hunter's Insight. This card's a card I've been including in more of our decks. We do have a lot of creatures with some evasion, flying for instance, and trample, so we will be able to get through and we will be able to draw cards. Guruk's Uprising. As long as we control a creature with 4 power or greater, we're going to be able to draw cards whenever it enters the battlefield, and whenever we cast a card with 4 power or greater. So really useful, and it gives trample, just the icing at the top of the cake. Elemental Bond, it's a classic. Whenever we cast a creature, we're going to draw a card, basically. Guruk's Pack Leader, again, really useful, same thing, but it's a creature. Corvold, Fakehurst King. With our commander creating all those treasure tokens, it'd be hard not to include this guy, because all he'll have to do is sit on the battlefield and just draw us a shit ton of cards. Notably, he will double up on those counters too, so there is some benefit there. Rishkar's Expertise. This is not only going to draw us a lot of cards, but we're going to get a free card off of it as well. Jeska's Will. Can be really useful, right? Because we can go ahead and cast it. We're going to get a lot of mana. Hopefully we get a Hydra or Tyranid off the top, and then we're going to be able to pump all of that mana into that Hydra or Tyranid. So really useful in the deck, and it's a solid include. Disciple of Bolas. When it enters the battlefield, we're going to go ahead and just sacrifice our biggest creature to draw a lot of cards. Mask of Grizzlebrand. Let's be honest, this is just Skull Clamp on steroids. I mean, some of you will be mad I made that comparison, but honestly, pay 3 mana, we're going to go ahead and be sacrificing our creatures anyway, so we might as well get card draw off of it. Notably, we do get the lifelink, so it negates that, the life we have to pay to activate the ability. And it does give evasion, which is really useful in the deck because people don't like taking a lot of damage from Hydras. Now, people always try to make that comparison. Well, this costs 6 mana. Okay, it doesn't cost 6 mana. It costs 3 mana 1 turn and then 3 mana to equip. And every time we sacrifice one of these Hydras, we're going to get the 3 mana to equip it to another Hydra from our commander. So it just fits really well in the deck. The Great Hinge. This card could not be more thematically on point. It cares about power, it ramps us, it draws us cards, and it's going to throw +1/+1 counters on our creatures. It's pretty crazy. Professional Facebreaker. Our commander is going to be creating treasure tokens, so we might as well go ahead and get value off of those treasure tokens in other ways besides just mana ramp. Alright guys, let's move into removal. We have Screamer Killer. Every time we cast a creature with mana value 5 or greater, this is going to go ahead and deal 5 damage to any target. That's going to be really good because most Hydras cost 2 and then X. So even if we're casting Hydras for 3, this is still going to be triggering. Retribution of the Ancients. This is an all-star in the deck because all we have to do is play 1 black mana and we can basically kill anything on the board. Terror of the Peaks is also amazing in the deck because it's essentially going to double up on our commander's ability. A giant Hydra is going to enter the battlefield, it's going to deal a lot of damage to our opponent, we're going to go ahead and then sacrifice that Hydra to our commander and it's going to deal more damage to our opponent. Really good. War Storm Surge. This card's gonna be the same as Terror of the Peaks, but it's not a creature and it costs more, so that kinda sucks. But it is an enchantment, so it will stick around. Bane of Progress. Not only does this guy tie into our 1/1 counter theme, but this guy's been an all-star in my games lately. Not only does he get rid of all of those pesky mana rocks, but he's also gonna get rid of all the treasure tokens and all of those enchantments that the opponents were, quite frankly, thinking were gonna stick around for a while. Toxic Deluge. This is going to be really good in the deck because not only does it get rid of the bane of our existence, token strategies, but it's going to leave most of our board untouched because we are casting massive creatures. I'll leave you with one last thing before you guys leave. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. And hey guys, we're almost to 1,000, so if you guys could help me get there, that'd be really amazing. Also, let me know in the comments what you guys would add to the deck, what you think might need cut, and honestly, your overall thoughts.